Out of all of the VR headsets I've used over the past few years, the one I actually end up using 99% of the time has been the Valve Index. But it's been 4 years now, and I've been itching for an upgrade. VR's come a long way since its original launch, and I'm happy to say it's finally here. This is officially the headset that is replacing my trusty Valve Index. This is the BigScreen Beyond. Whoa, hold up. On paper, this choice to switch from the Index to this kind of makes absolutely no sense. Compared to the Index, the Beyond has a lower refresh rate, smaller field of view, dimmer screens, and cost double the price. To many, this may actually feel like a real step back for VR hardware, and I get it. Promise, we'll talk about that. But first, I want you to take everything you know about VR headsets and just hold your reservations for a moment, because this right here is a completely new class of VR device. We've never seen anything like it before, at least not one that actually shipped. And this is exactly where technical information about VR headsets in particular really just don't capture the full story. We can point at numbers and rank things by them, but numbers can't quantify an experience. And in my time with the Beyond, I've had some of the absolute best experiences I've ever had in VR. So whether you're actually looking to buy this thing or not, if you're interested in the present and future of VR, especially VR form factors, I'd urge you to come along this journey, because I think we're seeing something really special unfold right here in front of us, and I quite literally can't get enough of it. So this is the newest iteration of the Beyond. I've been watching this headset since it was pretty much 3D printed and held together by hot glue, and things have changed quite a bit. And while this is still not quite the final version, what I have here is pretty representative of what's going to be shipping later this year. And as you can see, it's gotten a lot prettier since the last video. And previously, my only experiences with the Beyond have been for an hour or two here or there, but I've had this unit for the past month or so, and I've been spending a pretty ungodly amount of time using it. So before we get into the full Beyond experience, here's some basic information on it. I'll start by saying that there's no way to really understand the Beyond without acknowledging its main development philosophy. Basically, BigScreen set out to build the smallest, lightest, and most comfortable VR headset possible for you. And that's an important part. There's no onboard processor, no built-in battery, no cameras, just a VR headset that plugs into a PC using base stations for its tracking. And really, the Beyond is just much closer to a set of custom VR goggles than a typical VR headset as we've always thought of it. Every unit is custom made using an iPhone face scan for both a personalized face gasket that allows for your exact face shape and to set the headset's IPD at exactly your interpupillary distance, which on one side is awesome. You'll never have to adjust or fiddle with or change your IPD again. You just throw it on and the headset kind of melts onto your face. On the other hand, you just can't really share this headset with people around you. And for some people, that's probably a total deal breaker, and I get that entirely, but it's just a fundamental feature of this headset. It's not for everyone, but that's kind of the point. This is a headset made for you, not everyone. And for all of its sharing drawbacks, this development philosophy does have some inherent huge benefits. In total, the Beyond is about the same size and weight as a Quest 2's controller, which is crazy. And we'll talk about the experience of these trade-offs in a bit, but I want to get into the juicy technical details for just a moment. On board are two 2560 by 2560 micro OLED displays, a couple of tiny pancake lenses, a fiber optic cable, an extra USB-C input, and of course, it's also got a stereo microphone, which takes the cake as definitively the best microphone ever put on a VR headset to date. And a funny little thing here, my mic setup for recording these videos costs about as much as the Beyond does, and the Beyond gives it a run for its money. You can hear me using it right now, actually. Yeah, it sounds pretty good. There's no built-in headphones or speakers, but I've just been using AirPods Max or Pro, something that I've kind of grown to really love, surprisingly. But there are a few huge things that we have to talk about, and some of them are kind of negative. But this also just kind of goes to show where we're at right now with technology and what kind of trade-offs you have to make something like this. And warning, this headset is gonna start sounding worse and worse, but hang in there with me. So these lenses do a pretty good job, but they're not perfect, especially with extremely high contrasting scenes. Like for example, a completely black background with a white light in the middle. Yeah, you're gonna experience some glare. glare. It's not any more distracting than something like the Valve Index's God Rays or Quest 2's God Rays, but because the lenses and displays are different than any other headset, so is the type of glare. It's something you'll notice right away, but after using it for 30 minutes or so, my brain kind of cancels it out the same way it does with other VR headsets. I'm just making sure you know that it's there. I also found that with these lenses, keeping them smudge free is way more important than others. But the next thing, there's a pretty harsh technical limitation here refresh rate wise because of these displays. The Beyond is only capable of a max 90 Hz refresh rate, and technically if you want the full native 2560 by 2560, you'll have to go all the way down to 75 Hz. Otherwise, the Beyond upscales a 1920 by 1920 resolution image, and that sounds awful, but that's not the whole story. I was a little confused about the specifics of the upscaling on 90 Hz, so I just asked BigScreen themselves about the details, and turns out this upscaling compression is really just the same thing that the Index uses when you flick on 144 Hz. Also, the Vive Pro 2 uses the same upscaling technique as well. Just kinda nobody talks about it and its specifics.
DSC is just encoding signals that don't fit over certain portions of the electronics so that they can fit at a higher refresh rate. And then when it gets to the displays, we decompress it to the full native resolution of the panel, but we're able to losslessly compress things down, and it's visually lossless.
So 90 Hz is 90 Hz, and you are getting 99% of the image quality you would be getting at 75 Hz. But there's also another thing here. The big reason refresh rate is thrown around a lot in the world of VR headsets is because it's a pretty good metric of motion clarity, which is incredibly important for VR, except it's hard to compare LCD panels like on the Index to the micro OLEDs like on the Beyond. Because, for example, the pixel response time on the Beyond is literally 1,000th of the Index's. So 90 Hz for a micro OLED isn't the same perceived value or look as 90 Hz on an LCD panel. It's a little complex, and of course I still would have loved 120 Hz, but what I'm trying to say here is that as a 144 Hz Index user, I didn't mind the 90 Hz, and I seriously don't think it's nearly as big of a drawback as it seems on paper. But now, of course, the other elephant in the room, field of view. So here are my recorded field of view numbers for the Index, Quest 2, and the Beyond. This is all subjective, everyone's going to be slightly different here, but you can see my FOV is about the exact same as the Quest 2, and it's about 15 degrees less horizontally and vertically than the Index. And again, all of these things may feel like a step back. Lower field of view, half the refresh rate, come on. But here's where technical on-paper specifications just don't capture the most important part of a virtual reality experience, the actual experience. Because the second you throw on a Beyond, you can tell immediately this is something completely new. So you've heard the technicals, this is the Beyond experience. The first time you put on this headset, it feels way more like putting on a pair of reality portal goggles. Because of the face gasket that literally conforms exactly to your face, zero light comes in from your surroundings, and it's kind of a weird feeling. It's almost like visual sensory reality deprivation. And I think you'll get what I mean, but you just don't have that subliminal reality lifeline of peeking through the nose hole, or that slight little pinprick of light that you use to see through like you have on every other VR headset. All you can see here is the virtual. And on top of that, the Beyond is crazy light and it fits like a glove. I mean, that's the whole point of it being custom made. It's a big part of the experience. No longer is VR a giant half-pound toaster floating in front of your face. But the real magic here are the displays. Micro OLEDs are just incredible for VR, and these ones are tuned really well. Near Vario Aero clarity with 28 pixels per degree, no mirror like on PSVR 2, imperceivable screen door effect, vibrant colors, and super high contrast ratios. It's beautiful. And while these displays are probably dimmer and the FOV is probably lower than what you're used to, because there's absolutely no light leak, there's no sensory or light reference for your eyes to compare the brightness to. It's like, imagine grabbing your phone in the middle of the night. The brightness is at 30% or whatever, which is dim outside in the day, but it's blinding and makes you wince at 3 a.m. And it's because your eyes have adapted to a dark room. And And well, when you're on VR Visual Sensory Deprivation Island and the Beyond's displays can literally go all the way black since they're micro OLEDs, when you're in a dark environment for a few minutes, your eyes will have adjusted, so when something bright does come up, your eyes will react to it physically. It's all relative. Right now with LCD panels, we're just blasted with light all the time, and light leak makes that even worse. This, however, is just an entirely different perceptual experience. And in the last video, my eyes had adjusted to the completely dark environment, so the moon seemed really bright, and this time I was playing Half-Life Alyx and it felt like I was playing a completely different game. The mood and tone and how my body was reacting to it was just off the walls. Plus, the resolution and clarity just makes everything look way better than it did before. I can see detail where there was aliasing or individual pixels before. And this is my Beyond experience. VR feels fresh again, and I'm spending more time in it than I have in years. And on top of that, it's way more comfortable and I'm far more immersed. Like, I'm literally getting lost in virtual reality again like it's my first time. And let me just tell you something really cool, but also a little terrifying. My first day with the Beyond at home, I threw on the headset and somehow 10 hours flew by. And when I took off the headset, it was dark outside. I think the last time that happened was when I first got VR years ago and played Lone Echo on the CV1. And I've been chasing that feeling ever since. But here you go. I'll say it right now, I hope that all headsets can reach this level of immersion, but if they do, it's also a little scary. But I guess I have really enjoyed my little peek into the potential future of VR. So at this point, it may sound like I kinda like this headset. And yeah, obviously, and I will stick by that. I'm not getting any kickback. This is only a loaner unit. I'm not getting anything for saying this. But right now, it is the headset that I'm using more than anything else. In fact, I haven't been using any other headset. And I've been using VR more. And to me, that's a pretty darn good piece of hardware. However, do not get me wrong here. I am not saying you should go out and rip out a kidney and go buy this thing. Look, take it from experience. I've sold enough kidneys for this whole VR thing, and well, I'm running out of them and my wallet hurts. And I also know for a fact that, again, this headset is not for everyone. And I'm also truly not sure if I'm gonna use this as long as I use my Index for. In fact, I kinda doubt I'm gonna get 4 years out of this. But along that same vein, I really urge you to not think of this as the Index 2, because the Index as it is still 10,000% relevant. The Beyond doesn't make your Index or Quest 2 any worse or obsolete. It just makes the experiences that you can have in VR today a little bit better. Instead, I want you to think of this as something like an Index Micro. Remember those Game Boy Minis or PSP Micros, whatever? Kind of like that. It does everything that the Index already does, some things a lot better, and some things not quite as good because of the form factor. And it doesn't necessarily add any new features, but it does do exactly what BigScreen was trying to do. They made the best PC VR headset they possibly can. And of course, it is expandable. I added face tracking onto this thing. It did perfectly fine. And you could add all sorts of other stuff. I'm pretty sure Nofio is working on a wireless adapter for it, but you could just do the exact same thing to the Index. It doesn't really add anything other than the experience and the immersion. The Index is not dead, but that being said, the Index has gotten stale for me. I've used it for 4 years now. That's an eternity in the world of tech. So here's who I would absolutely recommend this to. If you're currently an Index user or Vive user, meaning you're already on Steam VR and you have a grand laying around, and some of these trade-offs don't bother you, I almost guarantee that you'll see exactly what I'm talking about, and you'll have a very similar Beyond experience as me. If you're not on Steam VR already though, this is a way harder sell. A grand plus base stations plus controllers, I don't know, that's a lot of money, and I don't know if I could really recommend that with a clear conscious. And if you're someone that will not compromise on field of view, other headsets exist, and all of these ideas can coexist. That's the cool part about virtual reality hardware right now. We're figuring things out and trying new things, and it's awesome. All I'm saying is I've had a really great time with the Beyond, and it's the device out of all the ones that I've tried and that I own that actually gets me to use VR consistently. And for that reason, right now, it's my favorite VR headset. And also, it's pretty exciting to know that BigScreen isn't done. This is literally just V1, and I'm excited to see how far custom-made super tiny VR headsets can go in the future. But I will say, next time, moving forward from this point, I think starting next year, I'm not sure if I will be buying any VR headset that doesn't have face and eye tracking built in. I'm giving it a pass this time because I think I can mod it in later. I've already got face tracking working, but still, Beyond 2, I'll put in my wish list now. Wider field of view, face tracking, eye tracking. Let's just crank those numbers up. But yeah, what do you guys think? Let me know. Other than that, thank you so much everybody for watching this. It means the world to me. And if I missed anything here, I'll be doing a Beyond AMA on Twitch right after this, or you could just comment down below. But yeah, again, thank you. And of course, much love everybody. Thrill out.